Have y'all heard this endless chatter about Meghan Markle being a narcissist? What on earth? I must admit, being on the right side of the argument, that I had no idea until I did my last episode about the review of With Love Meghan, and I was just trying to do like a little bit of research and just saw like tons and tons and tons of stuff about Meghan being a narcissist, and I had never really tapped in or tuned into any of that before. And then once I did, my whole YouTube feed got flooded with anti-Meghan, anti-black, very misogynoir chatter about whether or not she's a narcissist. Here's the thing, y'all. Here is the motherfucking thing. I have never been really for everyone saying that the word narcissism is being overused or that it's become too commodified or whatever, because I myself am a victim of very severe narcissistic abuse. And so when people started saying like, oh, I wish that word had never came up, people are overusing it, they're overusing trauma bonding, they're overusing love bombing and all the things associated with narcissistic abuse. And I was just like, no, they're not. There are real people out there like myself who really struggled with these things and who really suffered at the hands of narcissists and people with narcissistic personality disorder. And so I was just like, we need to be able to talk about this. We need to be able to, no, I never would say this, but like throw the word around is what people were saying. And I was saying like, no, let's not throw it around, but let's understand this is a very real thing. Very real people are suffering and have suffered from narcissistic abuse. But when I saw all of this stuff about Meghan being a narcissist, I was like, good lordy. We got to talk about it. And so I went down the YouTube rabbit hole because I was trying to understand the people who are calling Meghan a narcissist. I was like, I want to understand where they're coming from. And I want to understand why they're saying this. As someone who has studied narcissistic abuse, who's read the books about narcissistic abuse, including the books, not just How to Survive a Narcissist, but the ones that are just to help you understand who narcissists are and how they are and the different types of narcissism. I've read books about trauma bonding, how to escape the trauma bonds. I've read books, well, not about love bombing specifically, but books that included how to get through the love bombing stage, etc., etc. I know what I'm talking about. And I know something about dealing with people who have narcissistic personality disorder. So I'm like, okay, all these people are armchair diagnosing, and I'm talking about millions and millions of people. The anti-Meghan rhetoric is so much bigger than I thought or ever knew. And I understood that when I saw some of the comments. You can look at some of the comments on my last YouTube channel podcast episode post. And you can see the comments are just like, oh my God, she's a narcissist. Don't buy into this. Don't let her race bait you. And I'm like, baby, did you see or listen to the episode? Like nobody's race baiting a Black American woman. Like sometimes I just feel like the differences between Meghan and Harry, if they have done nothing else, they have highlighted the differences between Americans and Europeans, because I literally can't believe a European would fix their lips to say, don't let a Black American woman race bait another Black American woman. It's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the actual fuck are you talking about, bro? So anyway, I saw these comments and I'm like, these people are just literally out of their minds. But let me just see what they're talking about. So I went down the YouTube rabbit hole. Like I said, I'm like trying to figure out, why do they think she's a narcissist? So I wrote down the top, let me see, how many do I have? I wrote down like the top 5 or 6 or so reasons that they think she's a narcissist. And it's ridiculous. I'm going to go into it. It's utterly ridiculous. Like, it's completely conjecture. It's complete and utter conjecture. Like, it's a serious thing to, if you had been a victim of narcissistic abuse yourself, you would know how serious a thing it is to accuse someone of narcissistic personality disorder. And I realized, even after what I went through, that it was irresponsible of me to accuse my ex-husband of narcissistic personality disorder, because it's a very serious personality disorder. And I feel like if anyone has proof that they were indeed married to someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, it's me. But I can't even responsibly throw that word around to say that man acted very narcissistic to me, and I endured a level of narcissistic abuse that is considered severe. But I would still not say that. And so for people on their couches reading the British press and reading random stuff from random people from TMZ and Daily One and The Telegraph and whatever else bullshit, and them calling Meghan a narcissist is really actually comical to me. Like, y'all are fucking crazy. Just so you know. Like, y'all who think Meghan is a narcissist are really actually crazy. And what I find is that a lot of times it's projection. Like, I think you're projecting, especially when they give their reasons why they think she is. I'm like, you realize that you're projecting, right? Because you literally don't have proof of. Okay, anyway, so this episode is a little different from the norm again, because I kind of wanted to hop on this like while we're talking about it, while it's the, because you that bitch when you cause all that conversation, right? Like, she just launched her podcast, her new podcast, Confessions of a Female CEO, I think it's called. And she's causing a lot of conversation. And this is the number one thing I wanted to address, especially as a survivor of narcissistic abuse myself. Now, I have, if you want to know, a 6-part series on my YouTube channel that you can watch. I created it very closely to escaping narcissistic abuse. And if I could do it again, if I had the wherewithal, I would refilm that whole 6-part series, because I filmed it so close to it happening that I feel like I did not have enough I didn't have hindsight. I was literally just escaping it. And I was also still in the middle of like post-separation, post-divorce abuse. And also when I filmed that, I was still being like secondarily love bombed by him. He was trying to hover and he was trying to get me back. And I really wasn't even thoroughly through the trauma bonds of what I went through with him for probably a couple years out from our divorce, which is pretty normal and actually pretty good. All things considered, probably 2 or 3 years out from our divorce is when I really broke free from the trauma bond. So if I could do that all over again, I might do it all over again at some point. But all that to say, it still does detail me as a survivor of narcissistic abuse. So if you're curious, that is up on my YouTube channel, Out Here Trying to Survive. Additionally, after a little while, I decided that I wanted to become a coach to help other women who were going through narcissistic abuse. Narc abuse was becoming kind of big on TikTok. There was a whole side of TikTok called NarcTok, NARCTOK, where a lot of narcissistic survivors were finally learning a lot about narcissism and what they went through and what they survived, and they started talking about it, and it just kind of blew up on TikTok. And so I was like, I want to help other women who've been through this, because it was the most confusing, debilitating, painful, dehumanizing, mentally torturous abuse I have ever endured. And I am a child survivor of pretty severe sexual abuse, neglect, poverty. My ACE score is a 10. The indicator of childhood trauma is a 10, which is the highest number you can get. I've been through shit, and nothing rivaled what I went through with being narcissistically abused. It was almost otherworldly. Like, I don't have words for the kind of pain. I didn't think I would survive. I certainly didn't think I would be on the other side. And I am. So I was like, I'm going to help other women, because why not? I need to. I actually felt a moral obligation to help other women. So I launched a coaching business to help women who've been through narcissistic abuse survive. And I did that for a year. I was enjoying it somewhat. It was triggering me. It was triggering me real bad, like real bad, because narc abuse is so ugly and it produces so much often like levels of helplessness. And I'm a real bad empathizer, which means I'm real good at empathy. Or maybe I'm really bad at empathy. I have a lot of empathy that is very hard for me to manage. And so I had to stop because it was too triggering. But it gave me a window into a lot of women's souls about what it's like to survive narcissism. So I just want you to know, I'm not a random podcaster on here talking about something that I have no experience in, something I've never studied or thought about or worked with like I have. In addition, I should also say, additionally, I had my own therapist throughout this whole time. I had one therapist that I used up until we were divorced, and then a separate one on a separate insurance plan after we got divorced. And so I've done my own work, and then I did additional work to try to understand and help other women who were going through things, sometimes that were more severe in different ways. One thing I learned is that all narcissists are very different in how they present, and they're also eerily similar. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're new here, my name is Grace Sandra. I'm a writer, a podcaster, a YouTuber, an author, an activist, a mom, and someone who cares deeply about the lives of black and brown women of color. And this podcast is a warm hug of solidarity from me to you, for people not only out here trying to survive, but to thrive. Welcome. Okay, y'all, so let's just get right into it. At some point I had to stop because I was in the bathtub. If you know me, you know I love taking me a bath. Okay, I will do whatever I can with my life while I'm in the bathtub. So I'm like, let me do the research while I'm taking a bath. So I'm in the bathtub watching YouTube videos about these people who think Meghan's a narcissist. So I'm like, let me just try to get a handle on it. So these are the things that I could foresee that they were saying. One is she gouged him out of the UK. That theme came up over and over and over again. Another one, that she loved on him. Another popular argument was that she manipulated him. Another popular argument is that she can't take criticism. And another popular argument is her love for attention. So that's just a sum up of the main reasons, because I was like, what are they really trying to say? Like, what did she do? I want to know what she did that these people think she's an actual narcissist. Again, a very serious claim. So let's just go point by point. And let me again say, I said in the first episode, I am an American. I'm a Black American. And I did not grow up learning about the royal family. You know, for those of you Europeans, UKers, I don't even know what the fuck to call y'all. That's how little Americans are taught about y'all. We don't grow up to revere the queen. I do remember at some point when I was little thinking that William was kind of cute. He might have been like 15. I don't even know. He was like 15 or 16. I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. The little prince. And that's really all I knew. And it's funny because I have heard people say, and I've watched people say, so in these comments and things over and over again, how they're so mad at Meghan that it proves her narcissism so much, because she said sometime that she didn't really know who Harry was when she, met him or whatever. And the truth is, I didn't really know who Harry was either. Everything that we ever heard, everything I ever heard, which was very little, was about William, because he was next. That's all we heard. Like, the fact that his book was called Spare is kind of indicative of the way, at least in America, he's treated, because I didn't know about him. And then at some point, I do remember, I had a vague memory of like seeing a cover one time about Harry being a party animal. Like, I had have this vague memory of being in a grocery store, looking at the cover, and it probably said Prince William's little brother is a party animal or something like that. It didn't even directly say his name. I didn't really know his name. So the fact that she said that does not strike me as odd. I'm like, okay, she grew up as a biracial Black little girl in America. Harry is not at the top of our minds, baby. Okay? He's not great. He was not gracing every cover ever. And if he was, I was paying no attention as a little kid who grew up in Detroit. Even when I was grown, I wasn't thinking about Harry. Nobody was thinking about Harry. It's not proof of narcissism. And also people are saying that's a proof of her being a liar. Why? Why lie about something like that? If it's one thing you know about Americans, we are selfish. We are self-centered. We are internally focused. We act like we're the only country that ever exists. FYI, I don't really like America. I think we're a terrible country. I think we're literally one of the most terrible countries on the planet. And ask anybody who knows me, I swear to God, I've thought this way since I was 12. This is not something that's just come up since the orange orangutan demon got elected. I've thought this for 30 years. Okay, I've always hated America. I am not proud to be an American. But one thing I know about us is we gonna be selfish and internal. And so the fact that Americans are not raised to know anything about y'all, even though we're the reason why y'all are the reason why we're here, we don't know about y'all. We don't know about y'all. And ain't nobody fucking talking about Harry. I barely knew about William. People are saying that she gouged him out of the UK, that she indeed manipulated him to leave the royal family and to leave his senior royal duties. Y'all act like Harry wanted to be there. He has said, I literally watched an interview the other day where he said he he could not wait to leave. He wanted to leave. That's part of the reason why he went into the military, because he wanted to leave. He said, I wanted to be of service. I wanted to do philanthropic stuff. I wanted to leave. I wanted to get out of here. It's not exactly comfortable here. Y'all are forgetting that this little boy was hounded for his whole life, living with a mother who was literally murdered by the people who were hounding him for his whole life. He's not the heir, he's the spare. In addition to that, it's not exactly a happy existence as one can imagine. And he says it in the documentary they did for Netflix. He said, or maybe it was in the interview he did with Oprah, because I watched a few of them, but he said, I remember him saying, like, I realized that my dad was trapped in this. My grandma was trapped in this. My brother was trapped in this, but I didn't have to be. Now, let's just say, y'all, gasp. Take him at his word. If you take him at his word, he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be trapped in the system. He didn't want to be a victim of the system, where he literally couldn't even serve in the military, couldn't even go on missions because they were worrying about protecting him or him being a target. Ask me if that's a happy existence. Like, I could imagine for him as the spare. He wrote a whole ass book calling himself the spare. There is no way that Meghan, even if she was a narcissist, could convince him to write an entire book. That book was thick as hell about being a spare without all of that being true. I can't even believe that people would think that Meghan would have the power and influence to make this man leave something for him that was proven to be really, really painful and dysfunctional. And I've heard other UK people, I've heard y'all say it before, like how dysfunctional and weird it is. The first time I ever heard somebody say it that I took recollect was from the movie Love Actually. When the little white boy who's going to Wisconsin and he says, over there I'm going to be like Prince Harry without the weird family. Or maybe he says Prince William. Yeah, he says, over there I'm going to be like Prince William without the weird family. And I remember laughing and thinking that was funny the first time I saw the movie. And I feel like even y'all know that shit is weird and it's toxic. And it's not an environment that anyone really wants to be in without all the power and the wealth. And if you know that you're, I hate to say it, but just the spare, like, what's in it for you? But also, y'all, he's a grown man. Harry is a grown man who made a grown man decision. And the thing is maybe this is an American perspective, but I don't see why it's such a horrible thing for someone to want to leave a colonizing state. Y'all UKers have colonized the entire planet almost. And when, forgive me, I don't know everybody's names, but when Queen Elizabeth's dad's brother left the throne for the white woman in America, I'm sure that was a really big deal back then. But it's like, they talk about him like he was the devil, as opposed to someone who was just in love and wanted to leave. Like, the brother was just in love and wanted to leave. He didn't want to do it. And y'all act like he is the actual devil. And then what happened with Harry leaving his senior duties? Y'all are calling Meghan a narcissist because Harry was a brother in love who wanted to leave. Like, y'all little country bullshit colonizing state y'all got going on is not heaven. It's not something to aspire to. Like, have y'all ever sat and thought about that? Like, maybe it's a good thing that Harry, a spare, who wasn't even gonna be y'all king, took his black American wife and got the hell out of there because y'all have done evil things all over the planet? Y'all have colonized all these countries all over the planet and continue to tax them? Like, y'all don't see that shit as evil? Like, why wouldn't somebody want to be like, yeah, I don't, on top of all that, y'all are good people to me. From Harry's words, from Meghan's words, they were being really super shitty to them. So I don't think that's proof of narcissism. I think Harry is his own person. Even if Meghan had convinced him, even if she convinced him to leave, even that is not proof of narcissism. It's one thing if you convince your fiance to leave their their healthy, wonderful, loving, kind family. But Harry himself has said in a whole book and in an Oprah interview and in a Netflix documentary, I did not feel respected. I did not feel like my girlfriend was being respected. I did not feel like my fiance was being protected from people who were acting in insidious and cruel and vicious ways to her. Death threats, kidnapping plots, press beyond anything what they had seen before, even with Princess Diana. He literally said it from his mouth. He did not feel safe or respected. So it's one thing if a woman gets her man to leave a healthy family. Maybe I could see that as being somewhat narcissistic, even though people do have free will. But getting someone to leave a very toxic environment, I don't see that as narcissistic. And that's if she got him to leave. And he says in the documentary, this is what I don't understand about y'all UKers and everybody who says she's a narcissist. Y'all go on and on about her narcissism and don't believe him. Y'all are so mad at her for gouging him out of the UK. But he said with his own mouth, it wasn't her idea. In doing the research for this video, I watched a few different interviews where he said it wasn't her idea. I could see the pain in her eyes. I could see what was happening to her. And additionally, she acknowledged that she was considering unaliving herself because it was so painful. And the thing is that y'all are accusing Meghan of narcissism. And y'all stay gaslighting her about the pain she went through about being black. I remember as an American, the press was horrendous. The press here was horrendous. I can't even imagine what it was over there. But it was horrendous about her being black. There was jokes everywhere. It was big. It was big news and it was evil news. And that's in part what I brought up in the last episode, because I, as a biracial black woman in America, having a very similar but not completely similar experience as Meghan, growing up conventionally pretty biracial black woman in America, I remember being like, this sucks ass when all that press came out about her being black, because it was negative and it was terrible. And the gaslighting by, like, if you're a white person, American or UK or whatever, or Namibian, I don't give a fuck. If you're a white person, it is genuinely seen as a emotionally abusive thing to do, to gaslight a black person about whether or not they're experiencing racism. I'm not sure if y'all know that, but when y'all continue to say that it wasn't about race and that she's a race baiter and that she's just lying and there was no pain about her being black and da-da-da, and everybody accepted her until she did this, until she did that. And it's like, y'all, you are gaslighting her. That is literally what you're doing. And that is such a shock, something that narcissists do. You are projecting narcissism onto her, meanwhile you're gaslighting her about a significant thing. And this is what I was talking about, was the overlap of what I've experienced, that Meg and I have experienced, is that we're both light-skinned black people. So a lot of times people will be like, well, you didn't experience that racism because you're light-skinned, because you're biracial. So that's not racism. And it's like, no, I know what the fuck racism is. I don't need a white person to tell me whether or not I've experienced racism. Like, I know when I'm experiencing racism, okay? But also with Meghan, it was just very obvious that she was experiencing tons of racism. So I can't even really take anyone seriously who accuses Meghan of being a narcissist, because one of the number one things they say is that she's a liar because she didn't experience racism. And it's already, as a black American, I'm like, I can't take you seriously at all. Black women are literally the most hated people on this entire fucking planet. We experience every type of abuse as women and every type of abuse as being black, and you combine them together, we experience different kinds of abuse as light-skinned black women. We experience a whole other different kind of abuse as dark-skinned black women. Like, every kind of abuse that there is to suffer, black women have experienced it. And the minute somebody says Meghan is lying about that, I'm like, God, I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you that you're like this lost, like just this lost in the sauce, and clearly don't have any black women friends. But point number 2, they say that she love bombed him. If Meghan love bombed Harry, what is the proof of that? There's literally no proof. Like, sometimes somebody might say, oh, he love bombed me. He flew me out to Jamaica on the second date, and while we were there, he bought me a Chanel purse. and it was only the second date. And then he asked me to marry him. You know, there's specific things. If someone were to ask me, what did your ex do to love bomb you? I could list it off. I could rattle it off in rapid succession. And I could just give you the first 3 weeks, the first 4 weeks. And I could give you all the details. And when people start talking about Meghan love bombing Harry, they start talking about her working behind the scenes to set up a meeting and all these things that have nothing to do with love bombing, but also it's just, again, wild conjecture. There's still nothing that anyone, and I watched, y'all, I looked for it because everybody keeps talking about it. She love bombed him. She's a narcissist. She love bombed him. So I'm like, where is the proof? Show me something. Tell me something. All they have is all of this weird fabricated conspiracy theory stories. And really what it sounds like is they're just two people. They clicked right away. They started talking a lot mutually. Then they met up for a little vacation. They had a really good time. And then they decided to move it forward. There's nothing that shows there was like expensive gifts that she bought him or even that he bought her. There was nothing that shows like an excessive, there isn't anything even in interviews. Sometimes like in these kind of situations, people will give it away when they don't know. You know, they'll be like, if someone doesn't know they're a victim of love bombing, they might be like, oh my God, it was so cute. He texted me like 35 times a day. And I just knew he loved me because he texted me like 35 times a day. And then, you know, you're looking at them crazy like, girl, you are getting love bombed. But, you know, they don't know it yet. But there's like nothing. There's nothing that's showing that at all. Like not even at all. The third one is that they say that she is a manipulator. She's a narcissist because she's manipulated all of these things. She manipulated meeting him and she manipulated marrying him and she manipulated getting pregnant. And then the pregnancy was a lie. And then she manipulated them leaving. And it's just all again based on the press, tabloid press. On top of all that, I just last night saw the interview where Harry said with his own lips that they had a meeting after the press had said something about him and Harry got into a fight or something like that. He sat down with his daddy and his granny and they had a meeting and it was intense. And within 4 hours of that meeting, the press from William's house, because if you're new to this, William's house has a whole press. Harry's house, the daddy, the granny, and the houses all work together. I don't fully understand it, but William's house came out with a joint letter between William and Harry that said, don't y'all worry, we're buddies, we're the best of friends, we love each other. Y'all just squash it like we did. Love William and Harry. And Harry had no part in the letter. It was signed by Harry. He had no part in it. And it was like, Harry's come out to expose the family for being fraudulent, like fraudulently signing his name to a letter that he had nothing to do with. If you believe things that the Daily Mail and the Telegraph and the New York Post and TMZ say, and y'all accept that as truth, to use that as the basis that Meghan is a narcissist, but you don't even realize that the actual monarchy is lying in their own press. How can any of us take your claims that she's a narcissist seriously when we know all these people are lying, trying to sell newspapers, trying to, you know, get hits on their website? There is no reputable source for news on the royal family except for what they say themselves. And even that, Harry has shown, is a lie. I mean, Harry and Meghan went into great depth in that documentary to explain how the press works with them, how they sell stories, how the houses compete against each other, and how when they needed a story to get rid of a different story, they would sell a story about Meghan. Stuff that wasn't even true. Just salacious shit. I would have ran. Like, Meghan handled it so gracefully. That sounds like some fucked up white people shit, for real. Like, that is just insane. Just insane levels of toxicity. And y'all think Meghan is the narcissist? Like, what the hell? I actually saw two British dudes when I was doing my research, and it was like, the title was like, Meghan, Duchess of Narcissism or something like that. And one of them, I guess, was a popular either YouTuber or personality or journalist. I don't even know. He was a popular British dude. And he was talking about Meghan's narcissism. And then he was talking about how Charles, William and Harry's daddy, is also a narcissist, and going on and on about that. And then the guy was interviewing him and asking him, like, so do you think that Charles got it from his mama? And he was like, yeah, probably. And he was talking about how the whole family shows signs of narcissism. Now, because I'm an American, I don't know much about that, although I do think it's incredibly narcissistic to plunder the entire planet and still tax impoverished countries that you plundered and carved up, you know, over 150 years ago. But that aside, isn't it more likely that the royal family is operating toxically and narcissistically than just the random Black American woman that Harry decided to marry? Like, have y'all thought about that? Have y'all thought about the narcissism that has to exist to plunder the planet? Like, are we not thinking clearly? Maybe because the people who think Meghan is a narcissist, like, really think the British are just, like, you know, pooped out from God. But, like, y'all, what y'all have done is like the devil's work. Like, y'all do understand that, right? Like, I'm not saying America is any better. I'm not saying America is any better. I think we're worse than y'all, actually. I think America is the worst, fucking, most evil, inhumane, dehumanizing, torturous, awful planet, or I'm sorry, country on the planet. So I'm just saying, I think we should just call a spade a spade. Like, damn, y'all act like it was all heaven and roses over there for Meghan and Harry. Okay, so the next one that people say that Meghan is a narcissist is that she can't take criticism. Y'all, who, and I ask you to list the names, please, who is a public figure, is happy to take public criticism based on lies? I'll wait. Who? Because y'all sound fucking stupid. Y'all sound really, really fucking stupid. I think it's one thing for people to accept criticism if they're able to share their side and if they're believed and heard. But from everything I've looked at, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know enough to know that Meghan has claimed that 98% of what's come out about her and Harry has said the same thing too, is not true. So you ask yourself, if you were in that position, would you take criticism if you felt like it was based on lies? Okay, I'm not sure where I ended because my son came home from school and I had to buzz him in. But anyway, on to the next point. Her love for attention is the final one that they said. And I just think you're in a rock and a hard place, right? And she said this herself. I feel like so much of this could be resolved by just listening to what the woman has said. She was a popular actress, not a hugely popular actress, but she was a popular actress. She was on, Suits or whatever. She had been on a reality show. She was already, somewhat known. Not hugely well known, but somewhat known. She wasn't getting huge amount of press, but somewhat. But when she started dating Harry, all hell broke loose. And her bodyguard, I watched the video with her bodyguard, y'all, okay? The bodyguard said that when she started dating Harry and went public, the press went crazy. Her set was disrupted. Everything was disrupted. It was absolute wild craziness. She said with her own two lips that anytime she ever had a paparazzi come around her in any way, form, or fashion, it was just one or two. She would say hi, she would greet them, she would post her photographs. It was kind of fun. If I were on a popular TV show, that's what I would do. If paparazzi came up, I'd be like, oh, you want to take a picture with me? Like, okay, boo, let me get my good side. Like, I would be so geeked if a paparazzi took a picture of me. I ain't even gonna lie, y'all. I would be so freaking geeked. But I don't know. She just said that she was always really nice to paparazzi. But then after the press went crazy, after she started dating Harry, her bodyguard said things got so crazy, they had to start actually, doing escape routes and trying to maneuver around them. And she was to the point where she was getting scared, which I can totally see. And Harry said, if you see them out, don't smile anymore, because the press in the UK are saying that you love it and that's all you want and that's all you're looking for and that's the only reason you're dating him. Again, y'all, it's not hard to see, like, that's conjecture. It's just conjecture. It's people putting words and ideas and thoughts into Meghan that aren't her own. Whether she liked the press or didn't like the press, that still isn't a sign of narcissism. And also, there isn't anyone on this planet who has not somehow changed as a result of getting press attention. That's a lot of reason why some people keep their kids out of the spotlight, because of how we see that it affects people. Michael Jackson, Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears. It's not hard to see that people get frozen in time when they start becoming the targets of press, but it's addicting. And we can see why it's addicting. I mean, Justin Bieber could be another case study for that too. I don't know anyone it hasn't altered, but still, if we look at like people like Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, etc., Meghan, there still isn't any proof that the way that they respond to paparazzi is a sign of narcissism. Whether they like it and they smile, or they don't. Like, even I would say someone who courts the paparazzi, like Kim Kardashian. Kim has been out here courting the paparazzi for 25 years. For 25 business years, she's been out here courting the paparazzi. I still don't think that that's a sign of narcissism. It doesn't necessarily mean that Kim's a narcissist. And Kim is on a whole other level than Meghan. She's on a whole other level. I don't hear y'all calling Kim a narcissist. I just want you to, as someone who believes that Meghan is really a narcissist, I just want you to think about what you're saying. Her love for attention is something, an idea that you have had, that you've put on her. It's not something that she has said. She has not said, I love this attention. I love this attention. Oh my gosh, I love people calling my babies the N-word. She has repeatedly come out and said how scary it was for her, how harmful it was for her, how dreadful it was for her. I think that part of the reason that people call her a narcissist is because Harry is standing on business to protect his black ass wife. Harry stood on business, and he has come out and said that, like, with what happened to my mama, I don't want to see that happen to her. Like, I love this woman. And I really think sometimes white people I know white people hate to see black people happy, thriving, loved. Like, y'all really get off on it. And I don't even think it's an American thing. I think it's global. But I know that y'all, the racism that white people show in America is not that much different than UK racism. And y'all hate to see black people win. Y'all really do. Y'all really do. Like, y'all really do. It's sad. It's really, really sad. So the fact that Harry wanted to protect Meghan, like he wished someone had protected his mama, that he's articulated and clearly stated, y'all hate to see it. And the only reason that you can wrap your little tiny brain cells around why he would do something like that is for you to call Meghan a narcissist and believe that she wanted that she controlled him. And it's like, have y'all ever stopped to consider they have a good relationship and he loves her and he wanted to protect her and his children? Maybe you should. History repeating itself is something that white people don't tend to get or understand. Y'all just keep doing the same horrible ethnic cleansing shit over and over and over again. As big as ethnic cleansing and as small as constant daily abuses. And I feel like in this scenario, Harry was just like, I would like to break some generational curses here. Like, we're going to get the fuck out of here and I don't care about y'all money. The only thing I care about is security. It seems like from what he said in the Oprah interview and in the documentary that he was upset when they said that y'all are, if you step back from your royal duties, from your senior duties, y'all are not going to get the security for your family or for your kids. To that I have to say, what the fuck, y'all? What the actual fuck? It's a very white people thing to do. Like, oh, we're not going to protect you. You do what we say, we're able to control you, or we're not going to protect you, knowing that they are the most vulnerable people on the planet. If they get kidnapped, the kind of ransom that people would ask for, or for them to be unalived because of the rampant global hatred that the royal family refused to speak out against. Like, that is some cruel ass white people shit, just so you know. That's so on par it's so on par with y'all level of racism. Another thing that people said is that they called her a liar based on what happened with her dad, and repeated, I saw over and over again, about how what happened with her dad is an example of her being a bad person, without ever looking at what kind of man sells out his daughter for $100,000. Like, this man is a horrible father and has repeatedly spoke out against her. If he loved her, when a man loves his daughter, when a man adores his daughter, when a man thinks that she is the most precious thing on the planet, like, you can see it, you can tell. You can tell when a man loves his daughter. He will do anything for her, move heaven and earth for her. And what he's done is shown that he's a white American man, a racist, probably, practicing misogynoir, betraying his daughter for $100,000, and continues to do so. And y'all are blaming it on Meghan. Make it make sense. Y'all make it make some motherfucking sense. Make it make sense. This doesn't even have anything to do. Meghan could have never opened her mouth about this situation, and you can still see this man sold his daughter out for $100,000 for a story. Didn't come to the wedding even though he was invited. Then that whole thing with the letters, selling the letters to the press, and continues to speak out against her. Like, if anyone's a narcissist, which I'm not accusing him of because I don't know him. I don't know him, and I don't know enough about him to accuse him of that. But y'all claim to know every goddamn thing about Meghan and accuse her of being a narcissist without looking at her daddy, without looking at Harry's daddy, without looking at Harry's granny. Y'all accusing Meghan? What the hell, y'all? That's why I said in my last episode, y'all some racist assholes. Y'all are just, it's just racism. And unfortunately, like I said before, white people's racism, sometimes y'all are literally too stupid to know that you're practicing. That's what you're practicing. And I think this about men sometimes too. I think men are practicing such deep-seated misogyny that y'all literally don't know that you're practicing misogyny because it has literally like got into the core of your belief set. You literally believe so deeply that men are more valuable and better humans than women that you can't even see you're being misogynist because you think it's true. You literally think it's true. And that's how white people see the world about black people. Like, y'all really truly believe y'all are better humans and better people, and you don't even see sometimes when you're being racist. I don't even think you know. And that is what's happening here. And I truly feel sorry for y'all because of how miserable it has to be that much of a black people hating, woman hating person. To not know and to accuse this woman of being a narcissist when you don't know nothing about her. If Harry came out one day and said, I was wrong, I married a narcissist, I will kiss your feet, okay? I will get on my knees and kiss your feet and say, you know what? If there's enough evidence, if he could show enough proof and enough receipts of her actually acting narcissistically to him, I'd be like, okay, I was wrong. But y'all, this man is doing nothing but adoring his wife, raising his kids, trying to be happy. Like, y'all, leave this family alone. Another thing that got brought up was she wants all of the attention and she wants to be Duchess of Sussex, but didn't want to do her royal duties. So what I heard was, and this is from, it was a documentary or was it the Oprah interview? It was one of them, but they said that the Duchess of Dutch, or what is he called? Is it just Dutch? I don't even know. The Duchess of Sussex title was given by the granny for their wedding gift. When they said they want to leave or do their royal duties from another place or reduce their royal duties, they said they would give up those titles. His grandmother said, no, I gave you that for your wedding gift, keep it. But they did take away the HRH, His Royal Highness and Her Royal Highness titles. So they don't go by HRH. So apparently, even though their last name or surname or whatever the fuck y'all call it is Mountbatten, Windsor, Mountbatten, something. The Sussex overpowers the Mountbatten, Windsor. And so when she said, and with love, Meghan, when Mindy Kaling said, Meghan Markle, and she was like, girl, that's not my name no more. Like, our family last name is Sussex. We go by Sussex. That was a way that Harry is honoring his grandma who said, that was my wedding gift to you. I want y'all to keep it. It's a wedding gift. So it's just yet another thing that people are calling her a narcissist for. And it's like, y'all, they decided that's what's going to be their last name. They're not even going by Mountbatten, Windsor, or whatever. They're going by what his granny gave them as a wedding gift, and they were willing to give it up. So again, next, y'all are exhausting. Y'all are literally exhausting. So yeah, another thing I just noticed is that, like, it's crazy how many contradictory reports and things there are. Like, it feels like once you view something through the lens of, like, she's a narcissist, they just kind of put together anything and everything. Like, let me give you an example. I saw someone go into this whole news segment about how she's a narcissist because she lies about everything to make herself look better. And they were like, case in point, there was this one time where her and the Queen of England were going somewhere. They had first met and they were going somewhere, and they got into the car, and Meghan said that the Queen was very cold, so she took a little blanket to put over her legs, and she said, "Are your legs cold? Here, you can have some too." And she took the blanket and she covered Meghan's legs too. And Meghan just thought that was so sweet, and she just really liked her, and it was obvious that the Queen of England liked her back. And then, lo and behold, video footage comes out of this event, and it only shows the Queen of England covering up her own legs. So then they show the video clip, and the video clip is indeed a literally 3-second clip of the Queen of England pulling a little blanket up over her legs, and that's the whole entire clip. It literally was 3 seconds. And so it's like they might have got a little further down the road where they weren't being filmed, and she offered to put the blanket over Meg's legs. Or maybe it was halfway through the trip. She was like, "Hey, your legs look cold. Do you want it over your legs too?" Or maybe it was the trip back. But this person who was delivering the news literally did a whole segment on Meghan being a liar and a narcissist because she lied about the Queen of England not putting the blanket over her legs based on this clip that was 3 seconds. Yeah, it's not like there was a camera in the car and they had the whole trip there and back filmed to prove that the Queen of England never extended the offer. But it was 3 seconds, and I'm like, y'all, do you understand how healthy it is, unhealthy it is, and how overanalyzed y'all are doing for everything? And I was watching all these shorts are coming up in my feed, and it was like, watch Meghan be a narcissist because look at this look she gives Harry when he steps in front of her. And it's like, you do understand you can't do that. You cannot analyze. You weren't even there. Yo, please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I also noticed that there are people who have become obsessed with documenting her life. There was a guy on TikTok, because I put my clips up on TikTok, and there was a guy who responded back to me about, something negative, like, "Oh my God, you're just a narcissist like Meghan," or something like that. And I went to his page. His whole page is just anti-Meghan hate. It's literally just that. And I just thought, like, do you not see that as really unhealthy? Like, you are obsessed with trying to prove something about this woman who you don't know, that has no relevance to your life, who will never know about you. Like, do you understand that you're a loser? You're you're probably a white, old, ugly man incel with diabetes. And you're obsessed with this beautiful black woman who loves her husband, whose husband loves her, raising a family together. Like, do you understand how toxic that is and unhealthy? And frankly, it's just weird. It's weird. And a lot of these people online who came on my posts giving me hate, and from everything else I could see, they're just bitter white people with no life. Narcissists are people who cause irreparable damage in the lives of people that are around them. Think Miranda Priestly from The Devil Wears Prada. Someone who is so selfish and so inward that they cause damage everywhere they go. They do have people around them who they treat okay, but for the most part, someone who has narcissistic personality disorder cannot help but harm everyone around them, and with great consequence. Think of the orange orangutan demon who now holds the highest office of America. It's easy to point to proof of narcissism because there are cases of rape. There are cases of pedophilia. I'm trying to, change some of these words, but there's proof of how there is dehumanization happening on his watch and under his power. For y'all UK folks, apparently a lot of y'all think that Charles is a narcissist because there's proof of irreparable harm and damage. you can see the destruction that people who truly have narcissistic personality disorder leave. It's a very scary personality disorder. It's in the dark triad along with psychopaths and murderers. Okay, like, it's a serious thing. And I do realize that narcissism exists on a scale. Someone can have narcissistic personality disorder, let's say on a scale of 0 to 10 and be at a 10. And then there's someone who can be like the everyday narcissist. Actually, I have a book around here somewhere. I don't know where it is right now, but it's called The Everyday Narcissist. And it's talking about people who are like more like a 5 on the scale. They still cause a lot of damage at work. They cause a lot of damage in their marriage. They like irreparably harm their children, but they're not out here like unaliving people, so they don't raise so many alarm bells. They're just really difficult people to want to be around. Actually, like that movie, there's a movie that came out recently. I forgot what the name of it's called. I think it's called A Real Pain. Kieran Culkin is in it, and he plays the narcissist, or he plays a very difficult personality. But I saw Dr. Ramani talk. She made a whole video about how that movie was the greatest example of what she calls the vulnerable narcissist that she's ever seen. I watched it because Dr. Ramani suggested it. I watched it a few weeks ago, and I was just like, wow. And I think that's another great example. Like, if you want to see what someone who is actually a narcissist on varying levels, because he's probably not a 10, he's definitely not a 5. Kieran Culkin's character would probably more be like a 7, 8. It's really good. You should see it. People who are narcissists cause real pain and damage that's provable. And I think that we need to be very, very, very careful to hurl that kind of criticism at someone based on lies and conjecture. Now, I know I'm not going to convince anyone that's convinced that Meghan is a narcissist, but I do hope that we can be more responsible as people, especially when there's really serious consequences for that criticism. A good example of this is how our orange orangutan demon president in his first presidency, I can't even believe that he's on a second, how he ignited a fury of anti-Asian hate crime because of him blaming COVID on China. And so in America, I'm not sure what the rest of the world was like, but there was a lot of hate crime against Asians. And that's really serious. And I don't know if anyone was around the orange orangutan demon to tell him, like, what you're doing is becoming dangerous for people. Like, stop this. Please stop this. That's just one example. There's so many other examples. And so when I hear and see people talk about this kind of stuff, for me, as I've said, as a mixed race, biracial woman growing up in America, seeing Meghan attack like this, like, it's just sad. It's like, this woman is literally out here trying to live her life, fell in love with a fucking prince, and entered a hell. Entered a literal hell. And still just out here wants to mind her business and do fun, creative shit. I even saw something yesterday. Another white woman, yawn, exhausting, ridiculous, deplorable, has a whole channel, again, just to prove that Meghan is horrible. And she was talking about how now she's doing the confessions of a CEO thing, and that's another proof of her narcissism. And I'm like, if I had the money and resources to just like launch a new podcast, launch a show about something I love, cooking and homemaking, and take care of my family and be a good wife and mother, like, I would do that. I would do that. Who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't just continue to pursue your career? And she was already in entertainment. She was already an actress. She was already in a public figure. Like, she was already comfortable. Like, she was on that reality show with the suitcases or whatever. Like, she was already doing this stuff. What is the big fucking deal? Like, do y'all want her to go into cybersecurity? Do you want her to be an engineer? Do you want her to go into a tunnel? Do you want her to be a caver, a splunker? Do you want her to go work at the mall? Like, what would you prefer that she do as a woman who is a creative, who is a leader, who has philanthropic tendencies? All these things that we see that she was before she met Harry, what would you prefer that she do for a career? She still wants to work. A lot of people find joy in creative pursuits. That does not make them a narcissist because they're married to the former spare prince of the UK. Anyway, child, if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a like and subscribe. Leave me a review on Apple. I'm starting a new newsletter called Out Here Thriving. I know I've been telling y'all I'm starting this newsletter. I finally started. It's called Out Here Thriving. It has 6 categories where I'm going to be talking about a little bit about each one every week or so, every week or two. So I will have the link down in the podcast show notes for you to sign up for that. I appreciate you being here. You could be anywhere, but you're here with me. I promise this podcast is not going to turn into a Meghan Markle podcast, but I did want to talk about that. And, you know, there is some overlap because I have another episode about narcissism and warnings of being love bombed by a narcissist. And I have, you know, that whole series on my YouTube channel. So don't worry, we're going to talk about other stuff. But thank you so much for being here, and I'll see y'all on my next upload. Bye.